If the resurrection was foretold in the Old Testament, it had to be fulfilled by the destruction of Jerusalem. This principle is based squarely on Jesus' statement about the law and prophets, Matthew chapter 5 verses 17 to 18. One more observation we wish to make to establish the time of the resurrection is this. In Matthew chapter 5 verses 17 to 18, Jesus said, "Think not that I came to destroy the law or the prophets. I came not to destroy, but to fulfill. For verily I say unto you, till heaven and earth pass away, one jot or one tittle shall in no wise pass away from the law, till all things be accomplished." In this passage, did Jesus teach that, first, none of the law or the prophets will pass away until all of them are fulfilled? Or did he teach that, second, all of the law and the prophets will pass away when only some of them are fulfilled? He clearly said that none of the law or the prophets would pass away until all of them were fulfilled. Thus, Jesus taught the same thing in the Sermon on the Mount as he did to John in Revelation chapter 10 verse 7. There, Jesus taught that the destruction of Jerusalem would occur when the seventh trumpet, the last trump, sounded. If the law and the prophets taught that Jerusalem was going to be destroyed during the days of the Roman Empire in vindication of the martyrs, then that destruction had to take place before one jot or tittle of the Mosaic law passed away. If there's anything in the law and the prophets that is still unfulfilled, then every jot and tittle of the Mosaic law is still in force. In many churches it is popularly held that all of the Mosaic law passed at the cross. But a moment's reflection will bring to mind many things foretold in the law that were still unfulfilled at the cross. For example, the resurrection of Christ, prophesied in Psalms chapter 16 verse 8 and following. Compare Acts chapter 2 verse 25 and following. Or, the coming of the Holy Spirit in Acts chapter 2, prophesied in Joel chapter 2. Also, calling the Gentiles through the gospel, prophesied in Isaiah chapter 49 verse 6. Another example, doing away of daily sacrifices, foretold in Daniel chapter 11 verse 31. Compare Hebrews chapter 8 verse 13. And finally, the destruction of Jerusalem and the temple, prophesied in Daniel chapter 9 verse 12. Thus, the law was spoken of as being in the process of passing away, in 2 Corinthians 3:11, written 30 years after the cross. Jewish Christians, including Apostle Paul, were still keeping it in Acts chapter 21 verses 17 to 21, 27 years after the cross. The author of Hebrews said it was still in operation but nigh unto vanishing away, in Hebrews chapter 8 verses 4, 13, 37 years after the cross. In truth and in practice, the Mosaic law didn't pass away until all of it was fulfilled when Jerusalem and the temple were destroyed with its altars, priesthood, genealogical tables, making obedience to the temple services impossible, which is true to this day. There are three different relationships to the Mosaic law before the destruction of Jerusalem. 1. Gentiles were never under it. 2. 50 days after the cross, obedient Jews became dead to the law, Romans chapter 7 verses 4, 6, 7, although the law was still in operation. 3. After Pentecost, unknowing and disobedient Jews were still bound to live by the law until the temple was destroyed. None of these relationships to the Mosaic law affect any of us today. Thus, in the following chapters, when we read Isaiah's prophecies of the resurrection, we must understand that if Jesus was correct in Matthew chapter 5 verses 17 to 18, the resurrection must have occurred no later than the destruction of Jerusalem. When we read in Hosea's prophecies of the resurrection must have occurred no later than the destruction of Jerusalem. When we read the prophecies of the resurrection by Ezekiel and Daniel, we must understand that the resurrection must have occurred no later than the destruction of Jerusalem. This is when Jesus himself said that all things which are written were to be fulfilled, Luke chapter 21 verses 20 to 22.